Also, another huge story that we're tracking ahead of the open, and more broadly, President Biden looking to triple tariffs on Chinese metals. This coming ahead of his visit to the United Steelworkers headquarters in Pittsburgh today. For more on this, we've got Yahoo Finance reporter Rick Newman on set with us. Hey, Rick, what do we know about this so far?
Well, not unexpected. Biden has been paying a lot of attention to China. And let's just remind everybody, Trump was the first to put new tariffs in place on Chinese imports, and Biden left those in place. And now he's saying we're going to push them up a little bit. So the tariff now is about 7.5% on Chinese steel and aluminum. Biden is saying let's push it up to 22, 23, 24, 25%. And when by the way, when he says he's asking his trade representative to look into this, that means he's going to do it. That doesn't mean the trade representative is going to say, nah, not such a good idea. It's going to happen. So we have more protectionism. I mean, this is the way it's going. If Trump wins in November and becomes president again, he's talking about 60%, 60% tariffs on Chinese imports. Now, what he did last time was he said a number, I think back then it was 45% in 2016. He didn't do 45%. He did about 1/3 of that. So if Trump says 60%, let's assume it wouldn't be 60%. But he says 100% tariffs on electric vehicles. And we basically got both parties at this point saying we need to do something about China basically flooding global markets with cheap goods. And I think this kind of protectionism is here to stay. Economists don't like it. It's a barrier to free trade, but I think it's just a political reality at this point.
Rick, how is the Biden administration balancing it? Are they balancing it? Because when you square this with the diplomatic outreach that has been going on, at least recently among the administration, we just said Yellen in China meeting with top government officials last week. What is this going to ultimately, do you think, do to U.S.-China relations?
Well, I think that there is an important difference between Biden and Trump on this. What Biden has done with regard to China is very targeted. One big part of Biden's policy is export controls on advanced technology from the United States, trying to limit those products. He's saying certain things you can't send to China no matter what. What tariffs are no, and that's mainly with regard to weapons programs that China is developing. So Biden doesn't want sophisticated American technology in Chinese weapons. Again, that's very targeted. Trump just came out and said across the board tariffs on all Chinese imports, but then he kind of backed away from that. So what Trump did was new tariffs on about half of all Chinese imports. That was just across the board. And mostly what Trump did was he targeted components, intermediate products that don't land themselves on shelves, so consumers wouldn't see suddenly the price jump by 15 or 20%. It would go into the supply chain. He basically exempted consumer products like computers, electronics, things like that, toasters, so that people wouldn't see that price change. But Trump was more across the board. So Biden is being very targeted. And let's also remember, every time this happens, the target country basically retaliates with a similar tariff on U.S. exports to that country. So when Trump was doing that, China was putting tariffs on a lot of American products, including food, farm products, soybeans, pork, things like that, which cause a lot of heartache for farmers in the United States. So for Biden to say very targeted tariff on only this one set, and by the way, we don't even get that much steel and aluminum from China anymore. Maybe he will limit the retaliatory damage and not sort of be scoring an own goal by hurting U.S. producers.
I mean, and the other thought about this, too, is how much of this kind of tit for tat is also trickling down to the mindset of consumers and being more nationalist almost with their purchases at the same time.
Well, it's a funny thing because when you add tariffs to imports, stuff in the United States gets more expensive.
Right.
I mean, that literally raises the cost. Somebody has to pay that cost. And everything we're talking about here, more tariffs on Chinese imports, whether it's small targeted tariffs or across the board, that is all inflationary. And when Trump was president, we didn't really have much inflation to worry about. We do now. So I think this is another reason for Biden to be very targeted. And by the way, I think it's a good guess these tariffs might not even go into effect until after the election. By the way, we still buy a ton of stuff from China. Yeah. If anybody who thinks, oh, all that stuff on Amazon now comes from Vietnam or India, it ain't so. Just look around on Amazon. Most of that stuff still comes from China.
Yeah, I was going to say, it gets pretty obvious pretty quickly. All right, Rick, thanks so much.